Welcome to Success Story, the most useful podcast in the world. I'm Scott D. Clary, and today I'm sitting down with Aubrey Strobel. She is the head of communications at Lolli. Now, what is Lolli? It is a tool that allows you to collect Bitcoin while you shop online. Something very novel, something very new. And Aubrey was responsible for building out their communications and their marketing strategy, taking this brand new piece of cutting edge, bleeding edge consumer technology that's focused on allowing you to use and adopt Bitcoin in a very easy and consumer-friendly way. She built this marketing campaign strategy that allowed it to capture significant market share, and it is now one of the most prevalent consumer applications for Bitcoin. So we're going to break down Aubrey's story, how she got involved in blockchain and Bitcoin. We're going to speak about the work that she's done with Lolli and how you create a marketing strategy for a company that has no precedent. And then we're going to speak about the future of the industry. This show is sponsored by two incredible sponsors, Gusto, your one-stop shop for payroll, and Ladder, the only place you have to go for frictionless life insurance. So both of these sponsors have offers for all Success Story podcast listeners. Stick around until about halfway and you'll get those offers. I really hope you enjoy the show. Thanks again for joining me. Today I'm sitting down with Aubrey Strobel, who is the head of communications at Lolli, platform where you earn free Bitcoin while shopping online. She discovered crypto back in 2016. We're going to go into her crypto and career origin story. She worked for a few different blockchain projects while wrapping up a journalism degree. She is a regular contributor to CoinDesk. She has had her work, and if I'm not mistaken, an op-ed featured by NBC. She speaks globally on crypto and blockchain and DeFi, of course. And really, Lolli and Aubrey are household names in the crypto space. And Aubrey has done an amazing job of building a community around yourself and Lolli. So thank you for joining me. Very excited to dive into your origin story, how you got involved in blockchain, and what you're doing at Lolli. And then we can go into some more relevant industry conversation about it. But thank you for joining me.
Great. Thanks for having me on.
No, I'm
excited to be here.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. I've seen you all over Twitter. So obviously you're marketing well, you're doing your job well, but let's back it up and walk me through how you got involved in Lolli, how you got involved in blockchain, just your origin story.
Yeah, blockchain, crypto, all these terms we're talking about, still, I think even in 2021 in this bull market, which is maybe tapering off into a bear market now, are still kind of confusing to a lot of people. And so I hopefully will keep it relatively like in the lane. But, I got into Bitcoin in 2016, had some friends that were actually working on Wall Street that were buying crypto. And when you have the traditional finance guys buying crypto, who are usually these like proponents of ETFs and stocks and all sorts of things like that, it is sort of a signal as like something's shifting here. Is there something that I should be paying closer attention to? And so I think when I did my own research and looked into crypto, I saw a great need for why don't we have 24/7 trading? It's such an archaic system. A lot of, why are banks closed? Why don't people have access to their own capital anytime that they want? And, for me, I think, freedom is a value that I hold very near and dear, as an American. And I feel like that has been democratized in terms of the internet. But hadn't really been done in finance. And it was just sort of like, why isn't this happening? And I think that always stems back to there's too much power in certain institutions, people that they don't want people to have an easy access to capital. And so got into Bitcoin, bought Bitcoin actually at a Bitcoin ATM down by the Staten Island ferry, which is sort of a weird way to get involved because most people just buy off an exchange, but bought Bitcoin out of a Bitcoin ATM, and then just kept buying, Bitcoin, Ethereum, other tokens, and wasn't quite sure about like the future, which, people, they get in, they say, what should I buy? What should I buy? And really, I was just drawn to Bitcoin because of the foundational elements, the scarcity. There will only be 21 million Bitcoin ever created. And that makes it sort of like a digital gold. compared to, some other cryptocurrencies that can be mined continuously, like Dogecoin. I'm sure people who watch your show have heard of it or have some awareness of this like Shiba Inu dog token. But the reason that crypto is great or Bitcoin is great is because it has that scarcity component to it, and that there is no way to create more Bitcoin. So unlike what's happening right now in America with inflation and in many countries around the world, this is sort of a problem to fix, not only the ease and accessibility to capital, but also hopefully a hedge against inflation from governments. And so that's sort of what drew me in from the beginning. Yeah, but I got my start at a crypto PR firm, and that's sort of how I got in the door and kind of moved there to Lolli.
First of all, that's a very prolific thought. If you were this is, you were in a journalism degree and you just went down the rabbit hole. Like you totally went down the rabbit hole, and that's what shaped your entire career. I always find it interesting how their careers form, because obviously I'm assuming when you went into journalism, you did not expect to end up in crypto at all or blockchain, but you just sort of gravitated towards that and built on it. And I appreciate also the sort of the definition and the explanation, because you're right. Crypto, blockchain, if you're in it, it feels like the entire world gets it. But if you're not in it, it's still very foreign. And I think that's actually, not to go jump into Lolli just yet, but I think that's actually why Lolli is so interesting, because it's bridging that gap between this complex new concept almost that people have to understand, and then something that they can actually use, versus when you are in a group of technical people who get blockchain, who have bought into crypto early on, those aren't the average people that you really want to get to adopt Bitcoin, blockchain, whatever, right? You want to get the moms, the dads, the grandparents to adopt it. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to go off track there. I just thought it was an interesting point you made about how it hasn't been fully adopted, and that's something that sort of like brought you into it. So continue, keep going with your story. So how did you started looking into crypto, you got involved in it, you worked for a crypto PR firm, you said, and that was which one was that?
Well, I'd like to go back to the point about you made about getting into journalism. And I think coming into crypto, a lot of people who go into journalism sort of go in for this like altruism of hoping to shed light on broken systems. And so, or injustices, or try to be a watchdog for the public, is sort of how I at least saw journalism, and having a degree in that. My parents were teachers, and that was sort of like a service based profession, educating people in a classroom. I wanted to educate people at large, and I had the opportunity to do that. I had an offer from Fox and ABC to be a broadcast journalist, and for different reasons, one of them I turned down, one didn't work out, and I'm actually really grateful. I think some of those things that happen early on in your career, you look at them at the time and you're like, oh, this would have been really great. I wish this would have worked out. And I think it's really the best thing that could have happened for me. And so I got into crypto through talking to my friends, but then I saw an opportunity to work at a PR firm to sort of share this story and educate people about Bitcoin, because I did think it was a very large problem, and a problem that I could help solve or be a voice for. So I worked at Waxman for over 2.5 years, working on projects that were just way too early. It was just way too early. Even now, it's so early. And I think when you're in the industry, you want to shake people, and you're like, this is the future because of these reasons. I hope, you can see that too. But people right now, they're just trying, and the mainstream group of people, they're just trying to take care of their kids, pay their bills. They're not looking out, much more beyond that. There's a lot of Americans that don't even have more than a few $100 in their account. They don't even have a savings account in their checking account. And so to say to this future of finance and these terms and, that we throw around, and these DeFi and blockchain and all these different terminologies, the normal person just doesn't have time to really sit there and figure that out. And that is why Lolli is great. And, when I was introduced to Alex Edelman, the CEO of Lolli, and he pitched me this idea, I said, this is where we're at in the market. This is where we are at in the cycle. We're not doing these ICOs or initial coin offerings that I was working on or security token platforms just yet. I think we need to get people comfortable with holding and owning Bitcoin and sort of this idea of being their own bank first. Mm-hmm. And Lolli allows people to do that in a very easy way. Not everyone sees themselves as an investor. They see themselves as a shopper, though. I think most people are accustomed to shopping online. And so that bridge is a easier bridge to get people over. And so however we can get Bitcoin in people's wallets, however we can get people owning Bitcoin is a good thing for me. I don't care how that takes place. If they're buying it on an exchange, it's the same thing if you're earning it or if you're mining it. So Lolli was like a project that I thought I could really get people, the moms and dads, the aunts and uncles, into the door with. But yeah, meeting Alex was just like, the most random thing. I had a friend that was working at Barstool who had, I guess, heard what Alex was building and said, you got to talk to this guy, put us on a text thread. And Alex said, let's jump on a call today. Jumped on a call, pitched him what I would do for Lolli. And then sort of the rest was history, honestly. He was like, this is what I want to build. I was like, I know what you want to build. Let's do it. And I've been at Lolli for 2 years next month. So, it's almost next month.
It's worked out. So Lolli seems to be your raison d'etre, like your the thing that drives you, your why. It makes a lot of sense. Lolli is the vehicle to do that. And I guess my question is are there other platforms that you see that are bridging that gap, in your opinion, or do you feel like Lolli is, and I know there's going to be other things, but like having a true market share, market presence like Lolli that are really enabling the average non-technical, not entrenched person in blockchain to understand and start to use and just get comfortable with the concept? Or is Lolli somewhat leading the way in this? Because I haven't seen many that do what Lolli does. And I love how you said that. It taps into something that everybody's already doing anyways.
Yeah. I would say Lolli is leading the charge. It is one of the biggest crypto companies in the space. And I think because we're not after just Bitcoiners, it's not just a Bitcoin club anymore. It really is getting every single person possible in. If you look at similar companies like Honey, which was acquired by PayPal for $4 billion, very successful company. They have, I think it's 30 million users to their platform. That's more than any crypto company has. I think Coinbase has 30 million signups, and I don't know how many active wallets, because a lot of people have left their crypto on their exchanges and don't daily trade. And there's a lot of crypto just sitting that will always sit because people forgot about, whatever their password is, or just have not downloaded the app, forgot about it. But we're really after people earning every single day. And Lolli actually allows you to earn Bitcoin every single day, not just even by shopping. If we just launched the app, and you can tap this sort of treasure chest loot box, and it gives you free Bitcoin. You win, it's a few Satoshis. Satoshis are the pennies to the dollar. So, it's not convenient. Obviously, Bitcoin's worth around $32,000 right now. It's not convenient to trade in one Bitcoin if you're thinking about it, so Bitcoin is divisible by many other units. And so you can earn these Satoshis or fractions of Bitcoin on Lolli every single day, which makes it a more active wallet than Coinbase or perhaps any of these larger exchanges, because people are just finding ways to make it a part of their daily behavior, accruing money. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's sort of a way that it's becoming a part of people's everyday life, that they can track the price of Bitcoin. And it's sort of that thing when you get skin in the game, then you want to know what the price is doing. Once you have ownership, then you care, and you're tracking it. Now you're talking to your friends about it. And hopefully that's what Lolli is achieving in some capacity with our app.
So
that's launched.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. Now, I'm also very curious. You did have a journalism background. You were working in PR to some extent, but you have this founder who wants to take a product to market. that realistically has never been done before. I'm curious what the pitch was and what the strategy was to make this successful, because you've done it well. So, what's the marketing play for a brand new crypto blockchain project to take it to market?
Well, I'd say everyone's sort of trying to do what we're doing now. When we launched in 2018, I think that the crypto companies were trying to take themselves very seriously because they didn't have that validity. No one really tried. It was sort of like a joke still. Crypto was what silly internet people were doing. And even now, I mean, there's people still probably feel the same way for a large part. So a lot of these crypto companies really try to dress themselves up, act like banks. And that's exactly what we were trying to get away from. We're not trying to be banks anymore. We're trying to have this idea of freedom. And so I think really leaning into what makes you unique, no matter what that may be. Is that your personal brand? Is that your company brand? And Lolli just never took itself seriously. I mean, its name is Lolli. It's funny. It should be comfortable. It should feel like approachable, and that we want to be the approachable bank, not the bank that shuts down on you for Columbus Day for any reason, that you can't access your funds, that tells you have a withdrawal limit, who, is the teller at the bank that says, sorry, we've closed your account for some reason that you don't know. All those reasons that make banks not fun is the exact opposite of what we're trying to do. We're trying to be the fun bank. You want to keep your money with Lolli, keep it growing. We want to add different incentives like interest accounts and things like that. So, I mean, the idea that I pitched was that this is a product that can get on Good Morning America, that can be your mom, like we were saying, could understand this. My aunt, she buys my cousin's vitamins off of Vitamin World, and gets Bitcoin back for my autistic cousin. And that's like the impactful thing. It's the humanity, which I think sort of stemmed from my journalism degree, stemmed from some of the PR stuff that I've done. Any way that you can humanize a brand, is impactful, no matter what that may be. And just realizing, I really just pitched the idea that all companies are media companies, and they've been trying to be, but they didn't realize that they were doing that for quite some time. So the content they produce, whatever it is, people want to talk to their people. They don't want to talk to brands. They want to feel comfortable. They want to engage. You should have your users want to spend money with you. Mm-hmm. And make them feel that way when they're shopping. So that's sort of, I think not the exact playbook of how we did it, but
no, but it's good. The framework, like I think it's smart. I think the framework's smart, and you're doing it. Like you go to Aubrey's Twitter, like go to Lolli's Twitter, like it's just fun. And we were speaking before this, we're saying like, this is not even a blockchain thing. This is just like a marketing in 2021. You mentioned it. Every company is a media company. In my opinion, every person should be a media company too, and building their own brand. So walk me through like the framework for people. Like this is just a great marketing lesson. How you market Lolli, how you market it on different social channels. Well, I don't know everything you do because I just see some of it, but walk me through that.
Yeah.
I just want to take a second and thank the sponsor of today's episode, Gusto. Gusto is the easy online payroll and benefit solution set up for small businesses. So really, Gusto is payroll, benefits, onboarding, HR, all in one place. And it helps you accomplish all of that, but keep in mind it is built for the business owner. It is a people-first platform. It is the most user-friendly tool that I've ever used. And this is really just to remove all the busy work, all the admin work away from running a business. So let me just list out what it takes care of, because it really is an all-in-one. So it does payroll, W-2s, 1099s, health benefits, 401ks, offer letters, onboarding checklists, software setup. They transition your entire business from whatever you're previously using to Gusto free of charge. They also have on-demand access to HR experts in the platform. You can get unlimited payrolls for a monthly price, automatically file all of your taxes, state and federal. When customers migrate to Gusto, they don't leave. 94% of their customers say that Gusto has dramatically streamlined all of their payroll headaches compared to whatever software they're using before. And 3 out of their 4 customers say that they can run their entire company's payroll in under 10 minutes, which is absolutely insane. And a huge, huge, huge savior for anybody that is trying to run a business themselves that doesn't have all the help in-house just yet. Or perhaps they do have the help and they're just not efficient or they're not quick and you want to perhaps scale that person. That's what Gusto can do for you. And they're also offering a great discount for everybody who is a Success Story podcast listener. They're giving you 3 months free of the tool. So if you go to gusto.com/Scott, you get 3 months free of payroll solutions. There's no limitations on your account. So go to gusto.com/Scott, sign up, and you will remove all of the headache when it comes to running your business, and you can now work on your business as opposed to in your business. Gusto.com/Scott. I promise you, this will get rid of all the pain points, all the headache. This will be the best business decision you've ever made. All right, let's get back to the show.
Well, I like to say for people who are watching this and they may not know how to guide their company, or maybe even it's just your personal brand, I would say, just start today, because you might feel like it's too late. Some people feel kind of intimidated by these platforms that maybe that they couldn't have a voice there. I think just start today and be consistent with your content. Number one. Lolli on Twitter, really, we've made a huge meme play. And I think people undervalue that in a way. And companies for a while would say that interns were running social media channels and they have no idea what they're talking about. Would you put your entire brand voice in the hands of I'm not saying a 20, 21, 22-year-old kid couldn't run a great brand for, someone, but I'm just saying
somebody
that
who doesn't know the brand voice, somebody who doesn't know the brand voice. That's what you don't want to have. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not just a summer job or someone we give someone to do because it's not important. It's so important and it needs to be treated that way. And people, make jokes about memes, but there is meme advertising, like hidden messages within meme, like activations that happen. It's like a new strategy that is going on. And so people even argue there'll be chief meme officers in the future because that kind of content is important for companies to relate, and it's easy engagement. So we've made our Instagram sort of a meme account. Our Twitter account puts out memes, but it sort of just trends with topics that are happening. So it's just being really, really in tune with the internet's voice. But we also have other channels where we offer, the best Bitcoin backed deals that you can get on Lolli. But that's more of a deals focused social media account. You can go there for that. But if you're going to the Lolli account, you're going there to be entertained, to hopefully learn something about Bitcoin, because I do feel like another part of our strategy that I thought was really imperative that we had to get right was educating people. We can't just bring them in and then not educate them. Once you own Bitcoin, we want to hopefully explain to you why it's a better money than people have already, and how to take care of that money, because Bitcoin, while it is in some ways very simple, it can be very complicated. And we want to lower those barriers to entry for people who, maybe they want to take their Bitcoin off of Lolli and put it onto a cold storage wallet, or a wallet that's not connected to any devices. It's just named for that sort of wallet. So we want to be a resource for people. We're trying to help them in every way possible. So I think the educational aspect of that, creating educational content, we've been doing that on YouTube. We've been doing that on TikTok. YouTube Shorts has just come out, so we've been trying to utilize that. It's a little clunky right now, but the platform, but we're trying to utilize those channels, and then obviously Instagram Reels, and really any way we can just meet our user. We've been doing so much education and just sort of a Bitcoin 101 60-second guide, tell you what blockchain is, tell you what Bitcoin is, tell you, tips, things that you can learn about in the crypto space. And it's been successful so far. But I think it's just really heavy on the content side.
Yeah. So that, I think this is I think content marketing, you're nailing. If people are listening, watching this, go check out Lolli's social channels for some practical advice and some best practices. Like I look at the companies that do it well. Meme accounts do well. Why? It's shareable. It's funny. It's things that people want. There's how do you win at content? You make stuff that people want to share. Educational, funny, things like that. That's what people want to share with their friends, family, whatever. So you just apply that to business. And also, but you've also put yourself out. So that's another thing that you do that's a little bit different than not everybody does that. I'm a big fan of putting yourself out there and building your own brand. You said even, I don't know if it's a video of, I think you put out videos of yourself as well. You said you put out a video once a week. So you've
Yeah.
assumed this personality that's now associated
Mhm.
with the brand. That's also something. So walk me through why you decided to do that as well, because not everybody does that. Other people, Morning Brew, for example, they do a lot of
Yeah.
Twitter stuff. And now you have the guy that runs the Morning Brew account, Toby, if I'm not mistaken. He has a little bit
Yeah.
more of a profile, but it's very heavy on the faceless, funny content on Twitter. But you're doing a little bit more. So walk me through that.
Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff people may not want to do. A traditional head of comms is not usually making product speeches
Yeah.
at conferences and walking through those things. I feel like at a startup, you kind of make yourself accessible in any way you can. And I had that background in broadcast journalism, and there's just skills that you can find in parts of your career that you can apply later on. And so being on camera is something I feel very comfortable, familiar with doing. So we created Lolli TV, which is this weekly Friday show where we run through the Bitcoin news of the week. We do like a meme review. We give you the best Bitcoin back deals, and then we do a giveaway at the end. So there's a little something in there for everyone. And then we keep it about a 3-minute show. So hopefully people are being educated on what's going on in the market, and in a fun way that's not intimidating, that is also being told in the right way, because the mainstream media can obviously change the narrative, and we all know how the news cycle can be. It's not always like the most accurate portrayal of what's actually happening. And so that strategy, YouTube is the second largest search engine, and people kind of forget about that. Google, everyone's trying to rank for SEO on Google. Why not YouTube? Why not become this source that people want to go to learn about Bitcoin on YouTube? There's a lot of people that are already doing that, but hopefully we do it in a more digestible way. People think about SEO strictly as, Google, but YouTube has one of the largest search engines. And so if you can get early into, it's not all industries, obviously the crypto space is a little bit more nascent. So getting in there, and while people haven't totally taken over YouTube, is a good opportunity. So that's sort of what we're trying to do over at Lolli. Get that content out there, try to educate people as best as we can. And hopefully that will keep them into the space for the long term. And we're really just trying to convert people, not just this. I know people hear about these tokens that are like these short-term, get rich quick scams. That's not what we're trying to do. We're really trying to promote a revolution or a financial shift for people. So hopefully that's the goal. Hopefully, and Lolli ranks high when that's all said and done as a resource to people looking to learn and earn Bitcoin.
I think that's one of the main things. You have this responsibility to be an educator because you are that consumer product, and there is so much bullshit in the industry, and that's what's really important. That the people that the entry points in the industry are the good actors. And I think that's something that you're doing quite well. So even like, you can brag a bit, like, what has Lolli's growth been like over the past, I guess, 2 years since you've been running their comms? And by comms, is it a stretch to say VP marketing? Are you running everything? Are you just running comms? Do you have a team? What's your setup?
Yeah, so comms is marketing as well. Mostly the brand side and influencer side. So is unique to Lolli that went, first of all, we're up to over 300,000 users. When we started, I think we were at 20,000 users. So it's been quite a jump. We've seen crazy month over month growth during the past 6 months. And it's just an exciting time to obviously be building, in this space, but just generally. And with Lolli, we have a lot of influencers. We just raised $5 million in a pre-Series A, and we just actually closed our A, so we'll be announcing that soon. But the pre-Series A, we had thank you very much. We had influencers sort of be a part of these rounds. So usually we have a VC lead the round, and then have other people, creators, actually come in and invest in Lolli, because we do feel like those influencer activations are kind of better when, like I was saying, they have skin in the game, or just equity in a company. they're more likely to promote something that they hope succeeds. And so we have people like Michelle Phan, we had Serena Williams invest in the last round, and Alexis Ohanian led the round. So, people that can promote on their channels is almost a better tactic than just traditional PR, because the engagement and the reach that some of these people had, like Cody Ko, for example, put out a 30-second ad for us, an ad read on one of his channels, and we saw a crazy jump in signups to Lolli after that. And it's the power of these creators to influence their audience and get them to understand Bitcoin and projects that they're invested in and that they're excited about is unreal and not even fully tapped into. I know influencer marketing feels like it's, everyone's doing it and has some play. A lot of people aren't. And so I would, I guess pose the question to a lot of these traditional companies, PR is not the total comp strategy anymore. A lot of that is influencer. And so we have some more influencers that are coming around in the A. So they'll be announced too, and they can drive, signups on their own channels. And that really stretches so far compared to maybe just having Lolli mentioned in the CNBC article, which still has value. It's still good. But who reads all the way down to the end of an article? A lot of people are listening to podcasts, they'll hear that ad, or, who's watching someone's YouTube channel and they'll see Lolli there for sure. So it's just an interesting way of how people are consuming content. I think we're moving away from traditional aspects of finance. We're moving away from traditional finance of marketing, of PR. And there is a huge shift that's happening, and has been happening for a while, but I think has been really, I would consider people to take a look at. I think it's been happening since basically the pandemic, but it's been sped up now, and people are reevaluating a lot of the systems that they used to once trust. And that's reading news articles, that's their banks, that's everything.
So like massive shift in many institutions. Like obviously you're dealing in disrupting finance and financial institutions, but also like you nailed it. Like everything has changed. The way we market, the way we sell, the way we communicate over the past 2 years has been like a digital transformation on steroids, like forced on every industry, which I think is also very interesting. So, it's just great to see like how, you're working in bleeding edge blockchain. That's great. But it's not just that. It's also you're leading the way in marketing and influencer marketing and how you communicate with your customers and how you present information and how you bring people in and build a community around the people that you want to use Lolli and to try Lolli. I'm curious when you're dealing, because normally if you have a company, of course, maybe if you're in a bull market or a bear market in a traditional sense, it would of course affect some companies. But when you're dealing with, Lolli that is blockchain and Bitcoin adjacent, does the shifting markets impact signups, customer acquisition, or does it seem to not have an impact at all? I just want to take a second and thank the sponsor of today's episode, Ladder. A little bit of context before I speak about Ladder. Ladder offers life insurance, but the reason why I wanted to work with them is because I personally am a huge advocate of life insurance. And the reason being, the past 2 years with COVID, a lot of people have lost loved ones. Fortunately, I haven't lost anybody in the past 2 years, but I have lost people, friends, far before their time, years ago. And it usually happens that when somebody younger passes away, when they're just starting their life or they're just starting their family, they aren't properly set up. They don't have coverage. And when they pass, all the costs are passed on to their family. And I've seen that stress that falls onto loved ones, spouses, family. It's just a horrible time, and the added financial stress is not worth it. And it's not something that I would ever wish on anybody who's already dealing with the loss of a loved one. And it just so happens that when it happens unexpectedly for a younger individual, there's a better chance that they haven't looked into life insurance yet. So I'm a big advocate of life insurance in general, but I'm very happy with what Ladder is doing, because they are basically removing any friction in how you can apply and get life insurance. So they are all digital. So no doctors, no needles, no sign up, no paperwork. You go online, you submit your information, you can get approved. They have an algorithm that will approve you for up to $3 million without speaking to anybody. If you want to speak to somebody, you can. They have that option, but this is meant to be as frictionless as possible. And they also make it very user-friendly, consumer-friendly. So the fee they quote you, that's the fee, no fees, cancel anytime. Of course, with life insurance, the earlier you sign up, the cheaper it's going to be, and you can carry that rate through until forever. So they've really done it well, and they've modernized the process of purchasing life insurance. So I would recommend that everybody, they set up a link for everybody who's listening to this podcast. I would recommend and advocate that everybody goes and checks out Ladder. They're a great sponsor, but I am just an advocate for having life insurance. So I think that this is something that you should, it behooves you to start to look into it. If you want to get a quote, go to ladder.com/success story. So that is ladder.com/success story. And you can get instantly approved. If you just want to start to investigate, I think that's a great idea. If you want to purchase, you can also, like I said, get approved, purchase for up to $3 million online in about 3 minutes without talking to anybody. So I would definitely recommend you go check them out, and do yourself and do your family a favor and set yourself up. God forbid something happens. You just don't want to have that stress and that burden on your family. All right, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I mean, when the market's up and it's crazy hot like it was, I think the peak of Bitcoin in this last run, and we'll see where it ends up this year, was around the Coinbase IPO. So I think that was end of April. And, we've had definitely steady signups, but I think what has happened in the past 2 years is a change that is not going to be completely undone. Yes, I think, there's obviously more signups when Bitcoin's at an all-time high than when it's not at an all-time high. But I think the behaviors and the changes and what we've seen, how we've seen people approach finance has changed drastically. And that's talking about people who are on Robinhood buying, the meme stocks or doing whatever that. I think there was a shift in traditional finance, a shift into crypto. All these institutions are adopting it in some capacity. So while, it's obviously more advantageous when the market's hot, with Lolli, it's actually better to be, earning Bitcoin at lower prices. And so that's where the educational aspect comes in, because if you're earning Bitcoin at 60,000, that's great. But right now you could be earning it at 32. And hopefully, when those rewards lock in, and in a few months you could have paid off for the item that you've bought. So that's the sort of mindset and the way that people sort of should be thinking about their money. You should always be getting a kickback for anything that you're purchasing. So that whether that be credit card points, whatever reward points, the system is so gamified now. You should really be taking like full advantage of it. So you could be buying things on Lolli, getting Bitcoin back at low prices during, what do you want to call it, a bear market or whatever, and getting credit card points too. So it's thinking about, your finances in that way and under that lens. I think that's sort of our job too, just educating people at how they can be saving the most money, earning the most money, setting themselves up for the best future possible.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's I think that this is one of those tools to be able to do that. One of the many tools that are now being, you mentioned there's the roadmap for Lolli, and you're looking at potential interest products. You're looking, I think you said you were building an app at one point. I don't know what that app does, but this is sort of like the first step in creating that reward focus and that customer focused product that's tapping into a completely new market. So I'm just curious, what is on the roadmap for Lolli? What's next?
Yeah, so obviously Bitcoin's global and we want to be a global company. Right now we are only US focused, and the idea behind Bitcoin and the philosophy of, Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudonymous creator of Bitcoin, was to have Bitcoin reach all parts of the world, and it does that. Right now you can only earn in the US, so we have US merchants. That's how our partnerships are set up. but expanding internationally to other countries so that people around the world have the opportunity to be earning with Lolli. Everyone has Lolli on their. We just launched the app for iOS. We're coming out with the app for Android, hopefully very, very soon. It's almost done. We're trying to get to our Android users. And then, yeah, we're going to basically offer just different sort of products that make it more intuitive. I think what's really great about Lolli and the UX UI that we have is that it is so seamless where people shouldn't feel like they're using blockchain technology, because your everyday people are not going to be crypto experts. They don't want to be, they're not interested in DeFi. They just want some sort of store of value, some sort of way to hold on to their wealth. And so I feel like that's sort of more the lane that we're trying to achieve. Nothing complicated. You can sign up in 30 seconds. You can get going. But you are using Bitcoin. You are owning Bitcoin. So it's like the seamlessness of it. People don't need to know the nuances like the internet. You don't need to know how the internet works to use the internet. So why would you need? Same thing applies to Bitcoin and crypto.
And then I guess just, I'm going to draw out some career insights from you, just like some rapid fire questions at the end. But this is probably a question that every podcaster or interviewer would ask you, but I have to ask because it's on this show. So future of Bitcoin, future of blockchain, but also, where's Bitcoin going to be in 10 years from now?
10 years. So Bitcoin's only been around for about 12. So that feels like a crazy jump. I've been in the space for half the time Bitcoin's been around, and it feels slow and it feels fast all at the same time. I would say that you see developments like El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as legal tender in their country, which is great. I think it'll sort of start with countries who need their currency, their fiat's hyperinflated. They need another. And then hopefully expand out from there. I think it's not going to come without a fight. I think anytime that there is power, people don't give away power freely. You look at history of time, just even in our country and how America was founded, it's not something that's going to come easily. And so I think there'll be some bumps in the road in terms of price and things like that. But the internet's currency. It'll be a internet currency that everyone has access to. And the applications that are built on Bitcoin and the companies building around it will be a lot more simple than it is right now. You won't even really think about it as cryptocurrency. You'll just think about it as money. And hopefully it will make for a more level playing field for people all around the world to transact, which is the dream and the goal.
Definition of a Bitcoin maximalist, does that mean that it will completely replace entrenched institutions eventually? Is that what that definition? Because I hear it a lot. And I was going to ask you if you are one, but I need to get the definition right first. So what is that? What does it mean exactly? Bitcoin maximalist.
Yeah. Maximalist is someone who just believes in Bitcoin and only holds Bitcoin. So they see it as the future. They're pro Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. They don't hold alternative coins or altcoins such as Ethereum or sort of other protocols. So they're very much a purist, if that makes sense, in the crypto space. Yeah.
So this is not. Oh, good. Yeah.
Am I one?
Yeah. Exactly.
I own other coins because I think there's applications like Ethereum that allow for DeFi, and I think you can build upon it. It's very interesting. I don't know, where DeFi space is going, but I think there is, the applications that are being built and the smart contracts that are being utilized on DeFi are game changing in the same way that Bitcoin is changing the bank situation. You can do lending. For a lot of reasons, you don't need lawyers to operate some of these deals that are happening on DeFi. And so there's obviously a market for that to happen. And you can sort of agree instead of having to deal with lawyers and, other institutions telling you, what rates you're borrowing and lending at. You can sort of figure that out on your own. So there is a future, there's a path there. But in terms of store value and coins that have are going to make it the long term, Bitcoin is the answer. And this is not financial advice.
No. Well, that's the caveat. And then I guess I'm just curious, what are some other, consumer applications in blockchain that people may not know about that people should go check out?
Yeah. Great question. I think BlockFi is great. I think you can, we don't have an interest earning right now, but you can, I guess it's not super consumer, but it is consumer.
Yeah.
Block. I think it's a great way for people to get on, like just onboarded that, want to even just make extra money on their Bitcoin if it's not making enough money already. And then I would say it just depends sort of what you're interested in. If it's more Bitcoin focused or if you're more into these other currencies, I would lead you a different way. I'm really excited about the NFT space. I think that's really cool for creators and consumers to, so places like OpenSea, Marketplace, it's a great way to sort of start using Ethereum and like figuring out how NFTs work. Creating your own art, selling your own art. I think that's great. There's so many different creators that didn't have a place to sell, didn't feel like crypto was for them, and now they're selling their artwork on these platforms. So that's really interesting as well.
That's a whole other episode. Because
I
saw that was what you wrote. That was the piece that you wrote. I think for one of the pieces you wrote for NBC or CNBC. I can't remember which one it was, but that was what it was about scarcity and NFTs and whatnot. I'm like, oh my god, it's a whole other thing that I'd love to go into. But that's like,
it's called The Art of Scarcity. It was like talking about Beeple's NFT that went for quite a bit of money, and so just how our perceived notions about value are formed, because value as a concept, and this could be a whole episode too, is totally changed. What has value and what doesn't have value.
And that is the whole conversation at its core. That's what people speak about when it comes to Bitcoin and where it gets its value from, and then what actually is value and how do we actually apply value to certain items. And it's a very interesting conversation. Okay. So let's do some rapid fire career insights. You've had an incredible career. You're working in a bleeding edge space. You're killing it. You grew Lolli, obviously with the help of an incredible team, but also you're raising a Series A. So, credits due where credits due, and you've done a really good job with that. So people want to learn from you. Okay. Biggest challenge in your career. How did you overcome it?
Sorry, it's not as rapid as I...
No. By rapid, I just mean I know you want to it's like Friday when we're recording this. You don't want to spend another 45 minutes going through some career questions. So I was just take as much time as you need, but you don't have to go too in depth.
Biggest challenge, I think it was sort of knowing when to leave a company when the end of the road is, you've done all you can do and now you're ready for the next beginning. I think that when you're younger, you feel like you need to stay or be at a company for a period of time to validate yourself. And I don't think that's totally true. I think I wish I would have trusted my gut earlier when I first knew, I'm ready for a new challenge. I need to move on to something else. Because I just think if there's something, it's hard to trust your gut early on in your career and you feel like you need to do all these things. But I really just feel like there's no rules anymore. And you can really go out and make and do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. This is my whole pitch on the shift from traditionalism to modern day.
It's good advice. And I think that that's something that, yes, it's difficult earlier on in your career, but it's more important to be okay with that now than ever when nothing is for sure. And that's something that, the past 2 years have definitely told us. No job, doesn't matter what it is secure, because you can be gone tomorrow.
Exactly.
If things don't work out. So set yourself up for success, future-proof yourself.
Yeah. And I would like to add to that.
Cool shit,
Yeah. I think that the traditional shift from your parents used to work at companies for 20, 30 years out of this loyalty, and companies are businesses. While it is fun to grow something, I want young people especially, to know that if the company couldn't pay you tomorrow, they would fire you. Or if today, they would fire you. And it's important to see your company as a team. instead of a family. And I think a lot of maybe more startup-y places feel that way. If you go and work for like a hedge fund or big bank or something like that, you get more of the traditional aspect of it. It's seen as just a job. But I think it's always important to know that you have just as much say in the relationship between yourself and the company as they do. So
very good advice. Okay, so the biggest misconception that you had about Bitcoin, blockchain, whatever, when you went into the industry, and how has that perception changed over your career?
Misconception is that it was being used for money laundering and only criminals use crypto. And I would say that it's actually easier to trace transactions on a blockchain than it is to get out of an ATM and then do some dirty dealings with money.
Find the cash. Yeah.
Exactly. You get $20. I mean, bills are obviously they're marked, but like you could hide money under a mattress. Money can go anywhere. You'll never find it again. You'll never know where it is after it's gone. And crypto is a ledger. A lot of these cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin is on a ledger, unless it's a strict privacy coin. Pretty much track all transactions, and so people used to like to throw that at the community to try to say that it wasn't here for good reasons or was just being used for illicit purposes, and it's totally not being used for that. I'm sure in every single industry there is corruption of some sort, and people are always going to find a way to make something bad. If it's good, you can make it bad, but that's just not true.
No, that's fair, and I've heard that before. But I think that the community has evolved, and I think that stems from a lack of really understanding of what it was more than anything. But
I'm not gonna lie. There was the Silk Road for a period of time. People were using it for bad, but that's not what it is now. But people are always using cash and all sorts of gold and diamonds, whatever you want to. Some asset has always been used in a bad way. If it can, if it can do it, it will be used in a bad way.
If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Bet harder on yourself. I would say, I'm under the belief that there's no passion. There's a quote from Nelson Mandela that, there's no passion in life by playing small or living a life that you're less capable of living. And I think that in most circumstances, I've gone for raising my hand, making the jumps that I could have. But I think if I could have done it even more or just pushed myself a little bit harder in different circumstances, it definitely would have paid off. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. I just think that it's always hard to be sure of yourself when you're so young, unsure of everything all the time.
I like that. That was a powerful line. Bet harder on yourself. That's good. That's quotable. I like that.
Cool.
Yeah. One person who had an incredible impact on your life. Who was it, and how did they impact you? Did they teach you something, etc.?
These are such great questions. I love them. I would have to say my mom really impacted me. And if we're talking about a personal level or someone that I know, it would have to be my mom. She's just unlike any person I've ever met in terms of just a truly good person. But she taught me to have empathy in a way that I think helped me develop my interpersonal. I feel like I can read humans well, which is added to my career in a way where I can understand situations I'm in, read a room really well. And it just made me so self-aware. And I don't know if I had that as a child, but I just remember this instance when we had gotten done with a hike off of this mountain by ASU when I was growing up in Arizona. And there was a woman that was just wrapped in this blanket, and it was the middle of summer. And I was sort of an observant child, but I asked my mom about that. And she said, this person's homeless. They might need food. Would you like to get food for them? And I was like, yeah, I would love to do that. And so that was one of my earliest memories of my mom also encouraging kindness and encouraging, it's not just the awareness that you have for other people in the room. It's like, how can I help them? And how can, what are the needs that they have? Put myself in their shoes. What could I possibly learn from this person or what they're going through? And she's just a really beautiful person. Anytime we pass a car, well, we were meant to go this way because we were meant to pray for these people and hopefully that, they're in an accident. And it's just a different mindset of like thinking about other people. And if I think like if I didn't have my mom as a mother, I would have I'd definitely been a shittier person. She's like the best person. She's the best. She just makes you have so much empathy for other people. And I learned it all from her.
Amazing. Can you recommend a book, podcast, Audible, something that somebody should go check out?
Bitcoin focused or just general?
Anything. No. Anything that you've read that has had an impact on your life. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be Bitcoin focused.
All right, I'll give one Bitcoin focus and then one not.
Yeah, sure.
Bitcoin focus. The Bitcoin Standard. It doesn't talk about Bitcoin the whole time. It really is just an evolution of money and how we've gotten to where we are today. And I think that actually makes people understand Bitcoin more, not just learning about Bitcoin. It's how has our systems failed us in the past, and how has governments failed us, how have banks failed us, and how have we gotten to this point where we need an alternative. So that's my recommendation for Bitcoin. And then I think a book that I've returned to at different periods of my life, I think is always a great to reread because art, literature, movies, all these things, they can have different meanings in different parts of your life. I think as a young person, when you're sort of in your working years, and then when you're older, is Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom, and it's a really good book about life's lessons as someone's sort of dying from ALS. So it's just an interesting read. Makes you put things into
examples. Perspective. Yeah, those are two new ones. Like I said, I haven't had a lot of people that are as into Bitcoin blockchain as you are, so I expected the Bitcoin Standard or something like similar like that, but never that other one. So that's a good recommendation for sure. I love when people bring in like non-business books because I don't know, there's a lot of business books that I keep, they come up again and again and again. And I like learning from, half the reason why I started the show is to learn from people that have perspective that's just not a carbon copy of every other business perspective out there. So I think that's a good place to learn from.
Yeah, I just like the book because it's like a lot of the life lessons also can be applied to business. I think you don't have to read a business or a self-help book to find parallels into different parts of your life.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then last question, what does success mean to you?
Success, hopefully, would be helping someone else breathe easier and someone alleviate some stress from people's lives. And hopefully I'm trying to do this at a large scale. I've had a few conversations about this recently, and I think success sometimes just feels like fame or notoriety or all those things. But there's also success in this way where I was talking to actually Alex, CEO of Lolli, about just the impact that you can be remembered for just the smallest things. There's this woman that I used to go to this restaurant. It was called Luby's in Arizona. And she would always give me, as a little kid, she always gave me this flower from her hair. And it was just this kindness. She just worked a normal job at a diner, but I remember her 20 years later. And it's like these small gestures that you can do for someone that is remembered for 20 years. I sort of hope that whatever I do, if that's helping get people into Bitcoin 20 years from now, that they're like, I remember this one girl who just told me about Bitcoin, and now I have I have a retirement account or something like that. That hopefully that is success. I also would love to have a family one day and a beach house in Jersey. So I would love a shore house if that's possible.
Love a shore house. No, it's good. Well, listen, you know what? I think you're living some of the some of the personality traits of your mom more than you know, just with that answer. That's what I see.
Thank you.
That's a very nice definition of success. Regardless, the beach house aside, that's a good definition of success.
I'm not gonna lie. I want to help people, but I also, if I have a beach house at some point in my life, I'm like, okay, if I'm by the beach, that's all I need. Just put me by the ocean.
I feel that. Listen, that's why I'm in Florida right now. You're in the wrong city. Yeah, you're in the wrong city.
I am. I really am.
Okay, let's see. Where do people go to connect with you? Website, social, whatever you want to give.
Twitter.com @Aubrey Strobel. Follow Lolli. Sign up for Lolli, Lolli.com, and then @TryLolli. That's Twitter's my main channels, and then we have all our social channels linked on our website, so you can follow us along there. But definitely sign up. Start earning free Bitcoin with Lolli. That's my pitch.
Awesome. That's it. That's all I got. That was perfect.